Hi everybody, I'm Kerry Cunningham. I'm a former Serious Decisions and Forrester analyst. I currently head up thought leadership and research at 6 Sense, and I'm your host for the Science of B2B podcast, which is the one you're listening to or watching right now. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We're calling this one Hot or Not, and we're going to play a game. Now, if you've heard this term hot or not before, say in association with Mark Zuckerberg, and you find that name offensive, please understand we ain't doing that. What we are going to do is reclaim that name because we got a much better, more productive and fun game to play. All right, so I hope you enjoy the episode. Let's get right into it. Now, today we're going to talk about what the keys are to recognize what we like to think of as revenue moments. So what's a revenue moment? A revenue moment is a moment in time where a prospect is out giving off signals for the first time about the fact that they're in market, that they're going to buy something either from you or from somebody else. And the key here is to recognize these revenue moments for what they are as soon as you can so that you get head start in going after that potential opportunity. So that's a revenue moment. Here's what we're going to do. 3 potential opportunities I'm going to show you. Your job is to figure out which of these 3 would our sales team want to know about most urgently. All right, so here's the first one. You have an MQL. Now this MQL, somebody's hit your scoring threshold. They're from an organization that you probably sell something to, and the person who's the MQL has some legitimate buyer persona role. All of the people that we'll show you here will have that same kind of role. Second potential opportunity. You have an MQL, plus you have a pre-MQL. This is somebody who has logged in, they told you their name, they've looked at some content, but they haven't hit your magical threshold yet. Then we have option number 3. Option number 3 is 4 of these pre-MQLs where you haven't seen somebody hit that magical threshold yet, but you've got 4 of them. Take a moment to think, pause the podcast if you want to for a second, and we'll get to the answer right now. So the answer is the third one. It's 4 people from an organization looking at your content, demonstrating interest in one of your solutions. That is a revenue moment. That is a very strong revenue moment. We'll see in a minute, it's not necessarily the strongest revenue moment. We'll see what would make it stronger. And here's the thing about this revenue moment. It's hard to get. It doesn't happen very often. When it does happen, we have to see it because you've already paid for this. If you got people to your website and they got to fill out a form, whether they hit your magical threshold or not does not matter. Your MQL threshold is almost certainly a random number with respect to what an organization is doing when they're out looking around for a solution. Forget about your MQL threshold. Look at the number of people who are looking at your solution from an organization. That is a much better indicator. And if you ask sales which of these 3 things they want to see, they'll pick this one every time. You should go try it with them. All right, so we'll do a variation on this. Now, first one is an MQL like we recognize. Second one, same as before, MQL plus pre-MQL. Third one, 4 MQLs. So what's different about this one? Well, in this one, the guy who was just the MQL is a record breaker. Consumed all of your content, spent just mountains of time on your website, had all of the minutes possible on your website. Now, which of these 3 does sales care about? Having had a moment to think, I think you understand. The vast majority are still going to say it's the 4 pre-MQLs. It just doesn't matter how much content this one individual consumed. This person's got time on their hands. They love your content. Now that's another thing to think about. The better you get at producing great content, the more likely it is that the people consuming it are there because you have great content, not because they're in market for something, right? So it's good. You want them to come to your website. That's fantastic. Don't want to discourage that at all. But the better your content is, the less likely it is that the people consuming it are actually in a buying process. So let's stick with the evidence where we have 4 different people. If 4 people are doing the same thing, that is probably not a coincidence, right? So we want to pay attention to that. Now let's try another variation on that same thing. We'll go through it quickly because you've seen all this before. Now, how about this? Does that change anything? We've got one of your MQLs here consuming tons of content, and we have a second one. Now, I suspect this makes you think a little bit more about which one is the really, really, really good one, but it doesn't change the answer. 4 people is just less likely to be accident or noise than 2 people, no matter what the 2 people do. Unless one of them reaches out and says, hey, I'd like to to buy something from you today, you should pay attention to that. If that's the kind of MQL you have, pay attention to that. All right, here's another one. Very, very similar, first two. But in this third, we only have 3 pre-MQLs. Right? Nothing different about the other two. The other two are just the normal ones we saw in the first game. All right, so here, this is probably a little more difficult of a choice. After all, you've got an MQL, you've got a pre-MQL in the middle one, but you don't even have an MQL on the third one. So what is it? It is still the 3 MQLs. 3 is greater than 2, and your MQL threshold doesn't mean anything at all. If we could be really clear about that, it doesn't matter. And the fact that your MQL consumed more content or spent more minutes on your website or something like that, that one person alone doing that does not matter, right? Now, if you were comparing 2 potential opportunities with 4 different pre-MQLs and one of them had spent twice as much time on your website, I would say, okay, you may want to prioritize that one above the other one. They're both in market and they're both going to do something. And the fact that one spends more on your website may or may not mean very much, but what really matters is the fact that we had all of them there. Okay, you got that idea now. All right, we're going to change it up a little bit. So now we've got one MQL, we've got an MQL and an intent surge, and then we've got an MQL, an intent surge, and anonymous traffic on your website. So I think by now you'll all know that the one on the right is probably the one I'm going to say is the right one. Also, way to think about this is there are 3 different layers of evidence. You have 3 different kinds of evidence. Like if you were building a case, if you were a detective and building a case, you would have 3 different pieces of evidence that corroborate one another, that say the same thing about this organization. Pre-MQL, somebody looking at you. Intent search, they're looking around, third party looking for solutions. And then you've got anonymous traffic on your website from that same organization. Now, this is really good evidence that they're in market, and you absolutely should pay attention to this. You should probably pay attention to the second one too, but start with the third one. So that's it for our game today. We have a short episode today. I hope it was a little bit entertaining for you and hopefully a little bit enlightening as well. Next time, we're going to dive into these signals a little bit more. We'll look at it in a slightly different way and hopefully come away with a real deeper understanding of why we need to think about these layers of evidence of signals that are happening on our website. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.